Hello guys and welcome back. So in today's video we are going to start the colors section in CSS. So without wasting much time, let's get started. So basically there are two types of colors which we can use in our CSS file, or you can say on our web page. So they are foreground colors and the background colors. So let me just have the basic boilerplate of HTML. So let me just save it and give it a name, color.html, and okay, so let us give it a title, say color example. Okay, so basically there are three different ways, you can say, in which we can use the color. So in CSS, whenever we want to define a design related to color, we can use the color tag, or you can say color property. So the basic property of the color is just you simply have to let me just write it in the style tag. Okay, so what we are going to do here is we are going to select the entire section of our web page and give it a color. So which type of color? So let us say background color, and let us give it any color, say teal, and save it. And whenever we open a file, okay, so let me just open in the browser. You can see that the entire background of our web page is being turned to the color which we have specified there. So basically there are different values, and you can say different types in which we can use the colors. So you can just go to this MDN web docs and you can find here. So these are the several keywords which we can use if we don't want to use the RGB or hex values. There are other values such as HSL values and RGBA values which we are going to discuss in this video. So you can set the color from any of the given, and let us try, let's say, this magenta color. So here we have written teal and we can say magenta. Let me just save it and reload the page. So you can see that the color changes to magenta. Also we can use another type of you can say colors. Let us say okay, so here are the keywords and here are the colors which they will appear whenever we are going to use that particular color, and here are the hash values. Okay, so any color is basically made up of three primary colors, which is the red, green and blue. So what this hex value does is let us say that we are going to just have a basic understanding. So whenever we are writing, say, hash f f f f f f, okay, so it's 6 times f. So what it does is the first two f determines the amount of red, the second two determines the amount of green, and the third two determines the amount of blue. So the R, G and B stands for red, green and blue are the primary colors, and with the help of that we can make any color. So let us just write something in a body. Let's say H1 and say this is heading 1. Okay, here is the spelling mistake. Okay, and let me just refresh. So you can see that this is a heading 1. So this H1 tag is basically inside a box. So you can just right click here and go to inspect element, and you can see that this H1 covers the entire section. This you can see in the blue color, or you can say shade of blue. So what we can do here is we can apply a style to our H1. Say H1, and we want its background color. So let us use RGB values. So let us start with say 0, 0 and 0, and let us see what changes takes place. So basically 0, 0, 0 stands for black, and whenever we are going to write 255, 255, 255, so it stands for the white color. So as you can see here, also we can use another you can say tag, or you can say value type, which is RGBA. So it adds one more parameter A, which stands for alpha, which basically tells the opacity of that particular color. The RGB can take any value from 0 up to 255, so in total they have 256 values for a particular color, and alpha takes in any value from 0 to 1. So let us randomly take any color, say 20, 45 and say 56, and also give it an let's say full opacity, and let's see, let me refresh, and you can see here that this is the random color which we have made. So let me just comment this. Okay, so this is the color which we have made, and we have set the opacity to full. So what we can do here is we can just play around with the values. We can set it to 0.3, and let us see. So you can see that this shows the opacity of that particular color. Also, if we want to change the text color, so we can simply use the color property, and we can set it to say white. So you can see that it turns white. Also there are other styles in which we can define. So as I told, that the hash values, so let us say that we have another, you can say, let me have a paragraph here. Okay, and say this is a paragraph, and you can say we can copy this in order that we can see the changes. So let me just refresh. Okay, so you can see that this is the paragraph, and whenever you just inspect it, you can see that it also takes in some amount of section. You can see this blue color. So what we can do here is we can just define its style, say paragraph, and let us now use the hash colors. So we can say background color, and let's set it to any random value, let's say FA2345, and let me just save it and reload the page. So you can see that it is some shade of, you can say, red, and we can also use the color property to define the color of the text. So here we can use anyone like 3456 FA, and let me just save it. So okay, this is sort of a weird combination, but this was only to show you that we can use any value ranging from 0000. So as you all are aware that what 0000 stands for, or what color it shows, so it's basically black. So it shows that total absence of you can say any color R, G and B, and whenever we mix all the three colors, red, blue and green, then we are going to get a white color. You can just try it on your own by just taking the three different colors of light and using them or focusing them at a fixed area, and you can see that it changes to white color. So the next type are the HSL colors. So let me just scroll down, and okay, so here are some other keywords which you can use. You can just go to this MDN CSS page and just try on your own. So where it went, okay, so HSL colors. So HSL they are used for setting the saturation and lighting. So H stands for hue, S for saturation and L for lightness. So you here you can just read it out that the HSL color models define a given color according to its hue, saturation and lightness components. Also we can use the alpha component as we have used in the RGB part where it went RGBA. So alpha is an optional. If you want to use you can, if you don't it doesn't matter. So let us use any color. Let's say we have a new paragraph here and let me just copy paste this and save it, and let us give it a class of say HSL, and here we are going to just set some rules for it, and let us say the background color for it is HSL. Let me say 56, 34, 67. Let me just save it and reload the page. Okay, so it resembles to the same color, or I think we have to use here p.hsl. Let me try any different color here. So okay, so it basically works on percentage, my mistake. So 56% here, 34% here, and so it basically tells that we want 56% hue, 34% saturation and 67% lightness. Or okay, so okay, so let me just randomly select any color from here. Let's say this, and just copy paste here, and let me just reload. Okay, so you can see the considerable change here. Also you can see that I have just simply used here the .hsl class. Sometime it might also happen that in spite of defining a property, or you can say a particular style, it is not being shown on the web page. The only reason is that you can see here whenever we right click and go to inspect element, and you can just click here and point to any of the given section. So let me just use the say paragraph, and whenever you are just when you click on that, you can see here the styles. This is the HTML part, and you can see that whatever P, so background color, here you can see this background color is not being inherited, but instead it used this p.hsl. So this particular class works on this particular paragraph, and that's why it doesn't inherit this color from its parent, or you can say a paragraph which has been defined earlier. So you can just check out from here. Also we can go for this heading, and you can see here that it doesn't inherit the parent elements property background color, which is magenta, but we have used a more specific selector. I hope you can recall the selectors video which we have discussed earlier. So it doesn't inherit the property because it is a universal selector, and the specificity of universal selector is less compared to the type selector. So you can see here that it takes the RGBA color of this. You can just play around with it and you can just check out. You can see the color changes here. So the inspect element section is where you can just play around and try it on your own. So this basically helps us in identifying that which particular class or which particular selector it inherits, and which particular, or you can say specific selector, we can use to define our color and other properties. So that was all for today's video. I hope you have liked it, and in the upcoming videos we are going to cover the text and layouts part. So till then, stay tuned.